Hi everyone. I wanted to do a quick video this morning since a lot of us are getting the new Covey vintage Aurora. I wanted to do a comparison with the actual vintage Aurora, which is right here. This is the new one. They're both compact size. I received this one on, I believe, Wednesday of this week, and I bought this one pre-loved from someone in the Covey Addicts group. So I know I'm at least the second owner. Could be more, I don't know. And I don't remember when these came out. I want to say 2012 or 13, maybe? I don't remember. But this has been my favorite Covey binder in compact size until now. I will say that 4 days into using this one is now my favorite, and I will tell you why right now. So just on the outside, and pardon my coffee table, it's got dog hair all over it. I have a retired racing greyhound. And I'm doing this with an iPhone because I don't actually own a camera. So just on the outside, you can kind of see the older one has patinaed and darkened with use, has a couple stains on it, whatever, I don't really care. I love it. And it's got that shine, that patina. I'm sure this one will too in time. They're both very nice leather. They both have a tan color with contrast stitching, gold hardware, gold brads, and a magnetic closure strap that also can go through the thing. So on the front outside, one difference you'll notice is that the older version has kind of brads that stick out a little bit versus the newer version has the brads that are flat, more like heads on a thumbtack, kind of. Aesthetically, I prefer the older kind. They're just more interesting. They have a shape, you know. I don't know, I just find them more visually interesting. However, I will tell you that they have scratched other leather items in my handbag because I don't use cases for anything. I just throw stuff in my handbag and go. Sort of like Lord of the Flies in there. So they have scratched they're not sharp or anything, but they do stick out. So they have scratched other items in my handbag, and I don't know if you can see this, but over time the gold covering on the brads is starting to wear off as well. Just because they stick out and they rub on things. So I'm hoping that the brads used on the new version, because they're kind of flush with the binder, obviously they won't scratch anything, and hopefully the gold will stay as well. So that's one difference. Flipping them over to the back, you can see that they're the same, basically the same thing. You've got your exterior pocket here. The new one is larger. The new one comes with 1.375-inch oval rings. The old one has 1.25-inch round rings. Just to make things really confusing, I've switched the rings because I prefer the smaller round ones. So the size is a little bigger on the new one to accommodate the larger rings. And another difference is the strap on the older one is retractable, so it'll pull out. So it kind of goes in there, and it pulls out a little bit. So if you really stuff the thing, that's okay. But it's also shorter. So this strap is longer, but as you can see, it's just sewn in. It doesn't retract. However, the reason I'm all right with that is because of this. The strap lays flat immediately right out of the box, out of the way when you're writing. Whereas this one, as old as it is, and as much as I've tried to work the leather, it doesn't. The leather is thicker, I think because it retracts. I don't know. But no matter what, it just won't lie flat, and I am not necessarily a fan of that when I'm writing in my binder. Okay, so opening it up, the new version is leather throughout, so the whole interior is all that same nice leather. And the older version, if I can zoom in here, is cloth. So it's kind of like a nylon cloth. So the same cloth that is on the backing of these is on the interior of the older one. You also get an additional pocket, probably because, with cloth you can do that. There is no extra slip pocket here on the newer one. Again, probably because all that leather would make it extremely thick and heavier as well. I don't miss the extra pocket. I much prefer the entire inside being leather. Another difference is there is one more card slot. There's one more on the older version than there is on the newer version. Again, I can live with that for the all leather interior. The back pocket is larger, wider than the older version. I have an iPhone 7 and it will not fit in here, but if you had an older iPhone, one of the smaller ones, or a smaller phone, it would probably fit in here. It's a nice pocket. Another difference, not too wild about, but whatever, it's not a deal breaker, is they've put the pen loop on the new one right near the zipper pull, whereas on the older one, the pen loop is out of the way of the zipper pull. I'm not sure why they did that, but hopefully when they come out with new colors in the fall, they'll adjust that, because it does get in the way. Okay. So, rings. I'm going to show you, don't be confused, but this is the old one. But these are the 1.37 inch oval rings that were in the newer one. I took them out because I don't care for oval rings. But, and the older version had 1.25 inch round rings. I prefer them, so I did a swap. And I'm happy that the rings come out of this, because that's a feature that I really appreciate in Franklin Covey binders, the ability to take rings out, you know, put in bigger ones or smaller ones as my need. So all you need is a 2mm hex driver, and it's super easy. You just unscrew the two little screws and they pop right out, and it took less than 5 minutes to change the rings on these. So let's talk about structure versus floppiness. So the vintage binder is very, very floppy. It's very flexible, soft, unstructured leather. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of a stiffener in there. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel too rugged though. Maybe Bontex, I don't know. Again, these are older binders. And the interior is fabric. So they could be constructed entirely the same, but the interior being fabric would make it, you know, thinner and more bendy. So, or it's just super broken in. I don't know. As I said, I bought that secondhand. The newer version, definitely you can feel that there's a stiffener in there. It's much more rigid, but I mean, it's not horrible. You can still, I mean, I have a Suprema binder in a classic size that's a few years old, and there's no bending that period ever. It's extremely structured. So just using this a week, I mean, you can see it bends. You can bend it. It's not horribly, you know, obnoxiously structured. And what I did, and I will say, do this at your own, you know, risk. It's not something I would necessarily recommend doing, but I wanted to try it, is I rolled it. And if you have a traveler's notebook, maybe you know what rolling is, but you kind of put the leather back on its, you know, you roll it back on itself. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. I'll use my slipper too. But you kind of roll it back on itself like that. That's rolling. And as I said, if you have a traveler's notebook, you know, maybe you've done this. And you can kind of break up the stiffener a little bit by doing that. So I've done that. And I have to say that it's perfect. You know, it's structured, but it's not rigid. So that's kind of where I am with it. And this is a longer video than I had hoped. But there are the two binders side by side. Vintage Aurora from whenever it was, earlier in the decade. And here's the new Franklin Covey Vintage Aurora in compact size. So I hope you guys found that helpful. And don't worry, the smell will go away. Have a great day.